Hi everyone, this is Chris Crazy House, and this is going to be my review for the movie The Birth of a Nation, starring Nate Parker as Nat Turner, and this is also his directorial debut. He directed, starred, and co-wrote the film. So overall, I just wanted to say that this was a very excellent film. To put together a film like this independently is no easy feat. And I just have to say that I'm very proud of the work that not just Nate, but all the crew that worked with him, all the other actors and the writers and the production designers, because this is a very beautiful film. If I could simplify my review, I would say that this film is simple yet powerful. What I mean by simple is a lot of new directors, sometimes they try to go into making their first film and try to go in with style, or they try to go in with a gimmick. We really recently saw a movie that came out a while ago called, I think it was called Hardcore Henry or something like that, where the whole film was first person, or people come with gimmicks where it's, a film is over the top and bloody or super stylized with the editing. And Nate Parker did not do that. He kept it very simple and concentrated on setting up the shots, showing the scenes, and telling the story. And that was the best way to go, especially for a story that has this amount of weight. I felt he made the right choice in keeping things simple and not trying to go to be over stylistic, and just going and telling the story, because the Nat Turner story is powerful enough and has so much weight to it. You don't have to over stylize anything. The story is interesting enough, and it will hold the audience there as they watch it. Just to say that this story it was powerful to see, and it concentrates mainly on Nat Turner, which is what the film should do. It's appropriate. Sometimes when they do these biopic films, they concentrate on a lot of the different characters from that time, but this follows Nat Turner. We the audience are going with him on his journey, all the way from him being a young boy and being prophesized by the elders in the black community to say that he is going to be a leader and be someone great in the future. And we follow him all the way as a young boy, learning how to read and showing a knack for learning and gaining knowledge, to becoming a young man who was just trying to survive and make it in this hellish world that he exists in, and eventually becoming a pastor to the other slaves, and being actually hired out by his own slave master to pacify other slaves with his preaching. And then later on becoming the revolutionary leader that leads the slaves in a revolt against their slave masters. It is, like I said, just a very powerful film that I can't say that word enough. It To me, it was powerful without being gory or being, what's the other word? Being gratuitous. Okay, this was not a pornographic film. And what I mean by that is in the classic sense of the word pornographic, where it's just over the top and just over excess as far as what they show. It carries a lot of weight that they did not show some of the scenes in this movie. It does have its brutal moments, and I won't spoil that for you, but they weren't as over the top and gratuitous as either some reviewers have made a scene. I think it's the weight of the story makes it almost seem like, oh, this is more violent, because you're imagining in your head what's going on off camera. Some of the violence does take place off camera, while the violence that does take place on camera is horrific enough to get you in the mood and the idea of what's going on, and you know why it's happening. It's not just gratuitous for no reason, and I appreciate the director, Nate Parker, for having that sense to know when to show something and for when to pull back. And he did a great job in that. Now, as far as the rest of the cast, they all did a very good job. The cast member I really enjoyed, other than Nate Parker's performance, was the young actress Asia Naomi King, and she played Nat Turner's wife, Sherry. And first of all, just a beautiful woman, by the way. She was just beautiful in the movie, and to me, she just kind of lit up the screen and lit up the world just looking at her face. And I can see why a character like, or the historical figure like Nat Turner would be attracted to this woman, because she is a bright bolt of sunshine in a very dark and disturbing world. And to have someone like that be there with you, it would empower you and give you strength, and it shows you and gives him, not only him, but the people that are watching it, you understand what he's fighting for and why he's doing the things that he's doing. Other performances that were very well done was, I hope I pronounced the sister's name right, Janae Ellis, and she played Nat Turner's mother. Also another very beautiful woman. I've seen her in other films before. Very great actress. And usually she just has a bit part, but this one she was pretty front and center in playing Nat Turner's mother. And she is also another light that is very supportive of him and also gives him strength. Now, as far as the other characters go, I would say the people that played the white establishment, Armie Hammer played Nat Turner's slave master, Samuel Turner. And you have Jackie Earle Haley playing one of the slave catchers in the film. A lot of times when you see these types of narratives, people are always scared to see how white people are going to be portrayed in them, thinking that these white people are just going to be the worst devils in the world and you can't watch and they're not going to be three-dimensional characters. But I think these characters did have some dimension to them as best as they could, especially the character played by Penelope Ann Miller, who is the mother of Samuel Turner, which is Nat Turner's slave master. She's actually the one that teaches Nat Turner how to read. She sees that he has talent and she teaches him how to read, but there's that little caveat there because she only wants to teach him lessons from the Bible, and especially lessons that keep slaves docile, to make him a good boy. She doesn't want to teach him other things. She even says, and that scene is played in the trailer for the film, where Nat is trying to read some other books, and she goes, "No, those are not for your kind. Those are for white folks. You wouldn't understand the words and what's being talked about in those books." So, and that very much parallels what happens to a lot of young men today, where the system itself only wants to give us certain amounts of knowledge, but they don't want us to expand our minds past a certain point. Other great performances, the brother, his name is Coleman Domingo. He played the character Hark, which is one of the slaves that worked on the plantation with Nat. And it's his wife, played by Gabrielle Union, who is sexually assaulted by some slave masters who come over for dinner, and they decide to have her brought up to the house to sexually assault her. And I would say Gabrielle Union, even though she had no speaking lines whatsoever, did do a very good job as far as portraying the happiness of when she did get married to Hark, but also the sadness and the helplessness of when she has to go up to the big house. Now, this is a little bit of a spoiler. No, they never show an actual rape scene, okay? For those people who are worried about that or who are protesting or whatever, there's no actual rape scene shown. You only see what happens at the beginning, and then the aftermath of how the women look or how they feel afterwards, okay? And I'm kind of glad that Nate did pull away from that, because there's already been enough controversy first and foremost, but also this also gives you a chance to concentrate directly on the story. So you know what these people are fighting for, and you know the pain that they're going through, but it's not overly gratuitous just to have a sex scene that sickos can enjoy. So overall, this film was very well done. I appreciate that Nate Parker took the time to make a film about really an American hero or just an African hero in Nat Turner, someone who stood up during one of the most horrible times for black people. He took the courage and stood up. Not only that, he used what knowledge that was given to him, learned more on his own, and then flipped that knowledge and gave it to the other slaves and empowered them to stand up and fight back against an oppressive system. So yes, to me, Nat Turner is a hero. And anyone, if you can bow down and worship the founding fathers of the United States and great quote unquote adventurers and explorers like Davy Crockett and Daniel Boone, then yes, I can hero worship someone like Nat Turner and give them their respect for someone who stood up at a time where it was not popular and at a time where the odds were all against him. He took the chance and stood up and fought back. And it was greatly portrayed in this film, Birth of a Nation. Now, on my other channel, I'm going to do more of a breakdown and analysis of some of the social commentary that was in this film, because it did have some great social commentary as far as what is going on today. And for anyone who knows me and who's seen my other channel where I talk about more social topics, I always say that the relationship between black people and white people in this country has not changed a bit since slavery. In fact, a lot of the pathologies and a lot of the reactions and the social mixing that we do have is a result of slavery and almost exactly the same. We still act the same towards each other. And it's something that you would think someone would do some more psychological looking into, because black people have been psychoanalyzed to death by ourselves and also by other groups of people, but no one has ever psychoanalyzed a dominant society and how they react and how they still act sometimes as if we are their slaves or we are just property or we are less than human, and they still treat us very much the same way. They have the same action, reaction, and interaction. So in another video, I'm going to talk about that, where I break down how these things that happen in this film are no different than what's going on today. So I'll do that later, and I'll probably post a link to it once that's done on this video. But if I have to give a recommendation and a grade for this film, I would give it an A+. Please go check it out. I would say if you are a history buff, if you're a black person that wants to learn more about your immediate history, please go see it. If you have kids, I would say if your kid is 11 or 12 or older, it's fine enough for them to see it. That's another reason why I think Nate went the direction he did, where he did make the violence over the top, because he wants young people to see this as well, because young black kids don't know about Nat Turner. They're not taught that in school, but it's someone that they definitely need to learn about, because all that's taught to a lot of kids is that black people were slaves. We just sat there and took it, and we enjoyed our bondage. This shows that black people did not enjoy their bondage. It was not a good time. And also it shows how someone took their religion and used it to not enslave them, but they used their religion and those religious teachings to empower themselves. So, very good film overall. Lots of great messages in there, and I'll get more into that later on. But that's my review. If you have not seen Birth of a Nation, I do recommend you going to see it. Anyway, Chris Crazy House signing out. Peace.